You are apparently only now it says we're live.
Start again.
So,
Nobody noticed that bit. Just go again. It'll be fine.
hello and welcome back. You're listening to Let's Drone Out. Tonight you're joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Hello.
The man who does excellent thumbnails, my buddy Cole.
Howdy.
I'll see you in a week.
Yes.
Your ass is mine. Not that I'll be able to do anything with it. And the guy who's been sailing the ship, Stephen.
Cheers. Hey, everyone.
Our favourite liability and personal friend of mine, Andy RC.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Hello. Good to
Hello.
be here.
Just to make
mastermind
Andy
himself.
Just to make Andy look good, I'm gonna say, I don't know what's a horrendous thing I can say. That's not
I was gonna go more of a Blofeld route with Frank with his new setup here. That's the sort of vibe I'm picking up.
Yeah. He looks
I'll go with that.
Looks like he's in some sort of. The only thing missing
Been
is that.
inspecting it.
The only thing's missing is like the arms in the thing, you know.
Oh, a straitjacket.
Your
Yeah.
straight jacket. Yeah.
This is the big reveal to everybody watching. Frank hasn't been here because he's been in rehab, but rehab are giving him the internet and he can join us tonight.
Yeah.
That's why hello Frank, you haven't shaved because they won't let you have razors.
Yeah, sharp things. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. I hear that you've changed your mind. You're going to Prop Fest.
Prop Fest.
I
Is that
don't
the same
know.
as Drone Fest?
Yeah, whatever.
Or is that the same as FPV
or-
Drone Fest?
I was gonna say,
Insta360
FPV drone fest.
all of
Yeah.
you got it wrong.
And I'm bright until I fly, and I'm shit at this job.
It's a
It's
job.
alright. It doesn't pay you, so it's not a job.
Yeah, true.
Welcome back, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've just got a notification we're live on Twitch. The speed in which StreamYard now works is unreal. Hello, Lurgy. If you're in the chat, hello. He sent me a message. But Frank, I hear that you've got an FPV drone up and running.
What?
I literally flew for 20 seconds because that was, the bare minimum. Yeah, I couldn't come back on the show until I'd at least flown something. So I have flown something. I've gone through like all my wings, all my quads, and like there was something wrong with everything. And I've ended up doing the bare minimum to get my Baby Hawk R flying, which was rebind the receiver, and that was the lowest hanging fruit for me to actually get something back up in the air. So yes, I have flown something.
Well done,
That's awesome.
Wow.
Round of applause for Frank, everyone.
Frank.
Well done.
Rehabilitation's
Rebinding.
going nicely.
Yeah.
And just to put it, this is not easy rebinding. This is the rebinding where you'd have to press the button and plug something in at the same time. So let's not let's not minimise this. This was effort.
no.
And a button that
OTA.
you didn't know had clicked half the time. You had to click it. You
That's
couldn't even
right,
really
yeah.
feel it move. Yeah.
You
That's
didn't
the
know.
one. That is the one.
You didn't know
And if
whether you
you-
were destroying the entire circuit board
Yeah.
or.
Have I just chipped a capacitor off, or was that the button clicking?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you powered it on and then left it a bit and then pressed the button, you'd set the failsafe to whatever your transmitter was doing at the time as well.
But-
if it was the deadly D8 mode.
The other thing I did have to do, I found out, for some reason, I thought the accelerometer would just like reset every time you start it up. I thought that was how accelerometers worked and stuff, but apparently not. So
The gyro calibrates when you start up, but the accelerometer measures your deviation from flat.
I mean,
so it's
it
not-
must have been a gyro
IMU.
though, because IMU generally, because it was like drifting a lot to the point where like as soon as I armed it, like it was just going nuts.
In Accra,
Destroyed a
Wait,
bomb.
are you
That's
flying?
a
Are
replace
you
that.
flying angle mode? Is this a tacit
I was-
admission that you're flying angle mode, Frank?
This was flying in angle mode in my living room, which is the only room I have, which is this room. So, yes.
Yeah, that just sounds like a calibration.
Yeah, just put it somewhere flat, which is difficult when you've got ones where the plug goes in the bottom and you have to sort of like
But I
bounce
did
it on
it.
the edge of a desk.
But I also worked out that when I last flew it at some point, I'd had the same problem. Was trying to solve it with like stick commands, and I'd just set it into like profile 2 or some other profile, and just absolutely screwed everything up. I was like, why is this flying so poorly? This doesn't seem right at all. And then set it back to profile 1, and everything was fine again. So I've solved lots of problems. I mean, my radio didn't turn on when I first got that out of storage, but that was just because it was, very, very flat and wouldn't charge. But that's solved. My goggles. What did I have to do with my goggles? I had to because it's like diversity, VRX module, and I had to recalibrate those because they were like doing weird things. I recalibrated them. They're happy now. So yeah.
Is that the fat sharks that have always been a bit weird, or is that something else? Because you had
No, that's the module.
I remember you had a pair of fat sharks that just never behaved. I wondered if it was those.
Yeah, I think that was because of the power cable, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was the power lead. Let's not go into that. That is still in existence somewhere in one of the piles of stuff. But
so what goggles are you using then?
Still the Fat Shark Dominator. I don't know what they are.
Oh, the latest
3?
one.
The Dominator HD.
Definitely not HD.
The latest one.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're grey, aren't they? They've got a grey sticker.
Yeah, like everything else.
They're the ones that. They're the ones that I got off the Channel 4 show in 2018. So there you go.
I think they might be the Dominator. What are they called? The V3s.
Yeah, Dominator V3s.
Yeah.
No, I got the V3s. Frank definitely had newer ones than me when you were on that show. You had something else. Sure of it.
V3 core.
They've got the blue top, haven't they? And I'm sure
they're grey.
Should we go get them? Would that help?
Well, if you can get out your stroke
in the
jacket.
meantime,
Well,
I'll
just
tell
read the
a
name of
story
them then,
while
can't if you
Frank
get
is
some.
reading through his box of stuff, because I've managed to hit my finger and get blood everywhere. So this week I learned how to do 2-switch pre-arm on Deviation TX. It's basically like doing a logical switch, a sticky logical switch in OpenTX, but I did it in Deviation TX, which was way harder than OpenTX and required 3 different mixers and 2 virtual channels, and I just ended up randomly inverting things until it got the desired result, but we got there in the end.
Oh, there we go. That's the
Frank.
HD3, right?
Ah.
Soldier, and they're grey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at those Menace antennas, man.
Yeah.
2
2 patches.
patches. That's
I'll
very
get you all the way to the
directional.
kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
And didn't you post a picture of your table and there was a wing on it with some... And it looked like a very poor effort because there was a whole wing and then there was just a lipo sort of placed vaguely on it. Like, yeah, I'll cut a hole for that eventually.
Well, I was, checking that it was all going to balance all right.
Go
I was
easy
just
on
testing the CG. That was the level I was at.
He's at a very fragile stage. We've been making progress. He's in recovery. This is a safe space.
The thing is, having thrown everything into storage in February, March, whenever that was, I didn't really sort it. So now I grab a bag and this will be everything that I need to do this. And it's not everything I need to do that.
You've got 1.5 quads and half a wing in a bag.
Yeah.
You're like, I had 30 working models. Well, now I'm going to have 10. And I've
there's
just got to assemble them for the parts.
There's the solder station and the sponge and the resin and all that kind of stuff all in one bag. But the actual solder itself completely different box somewhere else. So yeah, there's been a lot of like getting 50% through a thing and then having to go dive through another bag of stuff and empty that out and go through everything. And then of course I get distracted by something else and go, this would be a much better way of doing that. And then
Have you got to the point where there's actual storage for this stuff to go into, or is it just in piles on the floor still?
It is in various IKEA bags. There's a lot of IKEA bags.
So we're getting the best view that you could possibly get.
Yeah. This is like
so tight.
There's a small bit of wall that is well painted. There's like
I'm getting the impression the paint stops like 6 inches either side of the crop.
Yeah, I can't move the camera at all, but there you go. But it's the flat is almost weathertight. It's usually got power. The water often turns on and sometimes turns off. So it's going well. I've got internet, obviously. Great success.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay.
For those of you who didn't know, Frank started very much with ground zero in terms of flats. There was a flat. It wasn't entirely complete structurally, and it very much wasn't full of appliances. So he's been working hard.
Well, it was full of appliances, but appliances that haven't been working for the past 10 years since it was all on fire. So that's the kind of place I like to start, because it means any improvement I make is leaving it better than I found it. There's I can't make it worse than it was. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you could make it worse than it was.
I could set it more on fire.
Rule zero.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was already on fire and burnt out when I got it, I can only return it to the condition I found it. I can't make it worse.
Yeah.
So your heart sang out. You're like, I've seen models like this. I can rescue them.
Exactly. I like a challenge for 5 minutes before I get bored.
I put a poll up. Jack with a beard, keep it, shave it. If you want to vote, then I thought it'd be funny because it's doing my head in. It's so itchy.
Yeah.
Shave it then.
I just had a shave.
Might.
You definitely got to go through the itchiness. I find a degree of shampooing helps. You need to keep it clean. That's not itchy.
Okay.
Top
I'll
tips.
give it a go. Oh God, keep it's winning by 57%. But that's Tony.
Are you gonna go full David Letterman though? If you how long?
Just till I look even more like a sex offender.
Ooh, you've nailed it.
I'd go wizard. Let's go for wizard, man.
Full on big Clive. Like oh God, someone send me some beard oil.
Beard oil, yeah.
Yeah, I've got some beard oil.
Is that like olive oil? Like you squeeze the beard and some oil comes out?
Not quite.
Nice. Are you still house sitting?
Hey,
Stephen?
Mr. Fedorov. Welcome.
Alexander, grow it out when it's cold, Jack.
Thanks for the... I've got my first exciting entrance into the world of Fetek and things. And
he's not Fetek.
He's Kiss instead of...
he's Kiss Ultra.
He's the other one. The other one. Well, anyway, I'm going to be trying Kiss. Maybe not Kiss Ultra, but I thought I'd give it a go.
Yeah. I don't even think Fetek is like Kiss All anymore. I think...
They've got two firmwares.
Felix has just gone mental.
Ultra.
Yeah. Buy an Ultra. Start again.
Well, I thought I'd make a plunge, so I got an experimental sort of setup, which needs to be built. And I'll say more about it later.
Does this mean you finally ran out of stuff to buy and had to find new stuff?
It meant that something highly unusual appeared, and I felt like getting it.
Is this the thing that you're being sued about?
There was basically some kind of Fetek hazing, which accompanied the purchase from a very over-enthusiastic forum member who thought that I'd got hold of something through some sort of grey market, despite the fact I bought it publicly from a member on their forum, and it was very stressful and rather tiring. But I think we got there in the end, and Nielsen's wife very helpfully sent me the manual, and everything looks good, and they were very nice about it. But yeah, it was a bit exhausting. We're there now. I don't know how I ended up in this situation. It looked so innocuous. I thought, oh, there's a shiny thing. I'll get a shiny thing. And then all of a sudden people were like shouting at me and making all sorts of accusations of improper behaviour with a flight controller. It got out of hand.
What did you do? Stick it up your arse?
Well, I shouldn't have had this particular flight controller for whatever reason.
That's
Anyway.
ridiculous, man.
It got out of hand.
Everything's
I
getting
think-
out of hand. It's just
I think
crazy.
the FETEC community is a little bit on edge. They're a little bit
Unhinged.
too keen to sort of shout at people. It's very very high tension community. But
Why
they
can't
seem,
we
the
all
founders seem
just
quite
get
nice. The
along?
people running it seem nice. I think it attracts some people who are a little bit amped up. That's all.
Slightly over enthusiastic community.
Amped up. It's the new word for
happens.
crazy.
It
When's
happens
that
with
ever-
TBS and happens
When's
with
that-
everything, doesn't it?
When's that ever happened before? Rotor Riot?
Oh,
Anyway, so there'll be
RC
some
groups.
fun there. So there's that, and then messing around with Deviation TX and doing the logical switch, and then some AM32 tinkering, because I bought an AM32 ESC, and it looked like I'm running kind of the second firmware release ever, not just for that ESC, but for the MCU that the ESC is based on. And somewhere along the line, they didn't quite get the timing started, so it starts up and kind of misses the fact that the flight controller's trying to get in touch with it, gets a little bit out of sync, and then plays the startup melody continually until you unplug the battery and plug it in again, whereupon it then syncs up perfectly. So there's kind of this cold start problem with it, and it's just a timing problem from what I can see. So I've been in touch with the helpful Alka Motors chap in Canada, and we've been sort of troubleshooting that.
And you've been importing goods from Canada as well, I hear, or planning to.
So
bundle them
hopefully,
in using coal. That's what I do.
The UK has a prop shortage. 3.5-inch props just do not exist this side of the Atlantic for some reason.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Cole has been extremely kind and agreed to purchase some 3.5-inch props for me so that I can go to FPV Drone Fest with a 3.5-inch, which is currently Sans VTX, because it was a Naked Vista that I trashed, and I was going to replace it, but Failsafe would like me to go and demo the new walk snail system, and so he wants a quad with a VTX shaped hole in it, which I have. So I was
Oh,
trying to
nice.
get props for it.
I
It's
love
only gonna be
how
dodgy.
useful coal's being.
But when Cole tries to get in the country and they say, "Are you carrying anything for anyone?" and he says yes, then he's going to get in big trouble and searched in all intimate places and things and sent back.
Just tell them you're flying your 5-inch on 3.5-inch props. Look them dead in the eye and say, "These are for my 5-inch."
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If you manage to find a customs officer who understands like what props go with what quads, like
Yeah.
they're not gonna worry about who or why you're bringing them into the country, are you?
Well, they've got the T-mount adapters, so it's plausible deniability, right? That should be
I'll
fine.
just say I had some in them.
Gov, we've got a bloke here with some sort of plastic ninja stars. What should we do?
That's more
Yeah,
likely.
Ninja Stars are illegal in the UK. That's why
no.
we had to
Even
have
plastic
Teenage
ones.
Mutant Hero Turtles
Exactly.
and stuff because of the
Wow.
80s ninja craze.
I never knew that.
Yeah, ninja. Yeah, like
Ninja
So what-
craze, as in the London gangsters.
ninja.
What are these elusive 3.5-inch props then that we can't get in the UK? Are they the Emax ones or?
Any bleeding 3.5-inch prop. HQ
Yeah.
3.5-inch, T3.5 by 2 by 3, Gemfan 3520s, Emax anything. The Emacs ones are like rare as hen's teeth to start with.
Surely
there's
this is
nothing.
just a Stephen thing. You fly not 3" or 5", 3.5" on not 4 or 6 but 5S. This is like the outlier stuff, isn't it? This is what you do.
Don't know what you mean.
Throwing stars, offensive weapon axe, 2019.
2019. That's a bit after. That's a bit after the Ninja Turtles, isn't it? I think it's a drop. It's one of those knives where it's like the blade slides out and then you clamp it in place. It's not a flick knife, but it's like a gravity knife.
I don't know why I was worried about not having flown FPV before coming back on.
That's fine. And yeah, I have been flying a lot more 5" though, because I've got a bit of space, doing a bit of pet sitting now, and there's space to go fly stuff. So I've been ripping around the 5", having a lot of fun.
You've been destroying wallpaper, or you've been going outside.
I was flying it outdoors, man. It's not. The living room is not quite that capacious. I mean, you can see the ceiling up there, right?
Well, Frank's like that bit over there's burnt, so it don't matter. And he's just been tearing it up indoors.
Yeah,
through the
another
burn
lipo fire.
holes.
Who'll be any of the wiser?
Yeah.
But the wing, though, the reason that I'm trying to focus on the wing, even though it's not happening for various reasons.
Did you get the carbon fibre?
I've got the carbon fibre. I got it today. I have it. I just need to like glue it in so I can actually get it. The reason is I'm trying this month to get practice in on the wing because I signed myself up to the Wings Over Wales event. The next kind of the these events. We've been to a couple of them where there's the X Class and there's the FPV wing racing, and they're doing some rounds of each. Sturb's doing a great job of doing the race directing and managing the switch between the two different courses, usually the two different sort of styles of flying, I guess. But yeah, back in some number of weeks ago, when Wings Over Wales, which is the first weekend of September, that seemed like a long way away, and so I was like, yeah, by then I'll have something flying, and signed myself up to it. And then I counted the weekends that I have, and then looked at the amount I have to do in the flat still before like winter arrives, and was like, oh, I actually, that's not very far away at all. So that is my big push, is to get this wing flying so I can actually fly it at least once, preferably get enough practice in to be able to, make it around the course, but at least once before the actual event would be good.
You had a working wing before, didn't you? That little bonsai wing or something? What happened to that?
Oh, that is in multiple pieces. That just exploded. I mean, it was. At some point I will mount it back on the wall because Painless gave it to me. It's written "Happy Birthday" on it, so that's going up on the wall at some point. But it did at some point. I think it may have been chased by a quad that was again slightly over enthusiastic, and I think it sort of became confetti. So some of it is still around, but not a lot of it.
Who was the culprit? Name and shame.
This was years ago. This was in the before times. I don't remember.
The before times. I remember that was Western Park when he gave you that, wasn't it? Though.
Yeah. That would have been 2018 as well, I think.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Shall we talk a bit about this? FPV Drone Fest. One thing. Does anybody know if they've implemented the site into that uncrashed sim yet? Because I couldn't get any information about that. It's only like a week away or something. Oh, what's that? Signal lost.
Signal lost. Just stuck it to my forehead.
Yeah, has anyone heard about...
the uncrashed map?
Yeah,
so
because
I noticed that there was an email that had been sitting in my spam folder, and there's a code in there. And I'm not sure whether I memorized the code because my memory does that, but it's basically a beta in the Steam client. So if you install Uncrashed through Steam, then you enter a special beta code, which is in your email. So if you go searching for FPV Drone Fest communication in your email, you should have the code there.
But
what's the game called? Uncrashed?
Uncrash.
Yeah. But how do you get that information from FPV Drone Fest?
They emailed it. Yeah. They've emailed it to everyone with a ticket.
This is the problem. I don't have an official ticket.
Are you officially going? Because you should probably just ask the organisers then.
Yeah. No, I'm going. Yeah, I spoke to Peter today, and I've got a long list of stuff that I've got to do, including a live interview with Insta360 on all of their socials. No pressure. Yeah, I just got to turn up and say my name, and they'll let me in. But I want to have a fly in uncrashed with the.
You're just going to turn up with your poo bin and say, "Hi, I'm Andy RC," and just wave you in.
Do you know who I am?
We do have a flying poo bin, but there's just so much stuff we want to do. It's going to be a packed weekend, so I think we may not even get to fly at all. But I'm going. It looks like it's going to be a fun event. Andy, what are you doing? Are you going? What are you doing?
I don't know.
You do know.
I do want to go, but I also want to be protected from the rain and the cold when winter comes. So it's a bit of a toss up between the two. We'll see.
You got less than 2 weeks.
I know. If I do come up, I will just camp in the car. But
yeah, that's the problem. It's the drive, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit of a distance.
I was
trying to think of a place more northerly in England, but you just get into Scotland after that, don't you?
No.
Yeah, you do. It's really far north.
Nottingham's like East Midlands, so
it's way up high. It's past Liverpool and stuff.
No, it's not. What? It's not past Liverpool.
Oh, it's so far away.
It's just above Leicester.
This is why Tony's not coming this week. He's going for his the pressure training, his diving training.
Yeah, altitude training.
Yeah.
Funny.
Tony's pretty sure that if he goes up there, there's just going to be people screaming painted blue. As far as he's concerned, that's all there is from there to the North Pole. Endless woe-daubed masses waving weaponry.
Yeah, he thinks that there's just an ice wall.
I put a post out today. You can get 50% off a spectator ticket, which I think the code is SPEC50. So if you do want to go as a spectator and you've been like, oh, I'm not sure, it's a bit expensive, it's a bit far because of the fuel, I think a spectator ticket will be £9.50 with that code.
Because they know that everyone's anyone who's bought a ticket and is trying to bring their partner along as a spectator will have them on site for about 25 minutes before they say, well, that's nice, dear, I'll see you in 2 days.
And
Look,
from when they were
done
on
your flight, that's it, isn't it? Let's go.
And from when they were on and talking about it, there's a load of competitions for the spectators, right? There's giveaways and things.
The person who stays on site the longest. Easy to win.
You can't get halfback, sadly, Caroline. I'm gonna be putting out a video, and it's like something specific that has been given to me just to promote the event. So apologies for that, but yeah. Well, that killed it, didn't it?
Yeah, Andy's the bad guy now. It's his code.
They could have thrown some hype and talk about how Insta360 are going away. Oodles of kit! Oh my god, it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen their new webcam that they've released this week? I thought
that tracks you with the hand thing.
I thought that looked interesting. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to have one of those there. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, because they're doing the whole live stream with Insta360 stuff, right? So presumably there's going to be a bunch of them, and I don't know. I imagine there's going to be I want to know if they're going to have like the pro thing, you know, the like the VR cameras, like the really expensive
I would
ones.
assume so. Yeah, if they're live streaming it,
That would be quite fun to go and look at and poke, maybe.
Andy, I sent you the code on Discord.
Ah, thank you, man. That's
And
awesome.
I've sent you the code on the private chat and on Facebook.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of pressure on me if I actually do some flying. So, yeah.
I managed to get Uncrash to work on my potato laptop that I'm currently traveling with, by the way. It turns out if you drop down the settings and there's some resolution scale options, you can make it run on any old heap of garbage. So everyone should be able to have a little thrash around.
Oh, Grumpy RC Flyer, what's happening about the smoke machine? Yeah, if all being well and we can figure something out, it's not 100% because the wind up north has. I think we've had about 2 days where it's been below 20 miles per hour, but hopefully, if the weather is okay, myself and Phil should be bringing our Cubs and doing some formation flying, and one will have with the smoke system on it. But what's happening with the actual system that has been developed by Menace, chip shortages, it's really unfortunate. I've got the only two that has been made. Even Greg hasn't got.
What chips are short?
I don't know.
STM32 are well short. All the ESC manufacturers have moved from STM32 and now they're using Giga devices like GDE 230s, and then a bunch of those are using Artery Tech. Basically, everything that used to have STM32 chips, they just ran out. I was tracking some ESC updates, and it's almost impossible to buy an STM32 based BLHeli ESC now. They've all just vanished.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sucks.
Greg is working on it though, because he's like.
Yeah, if you speak to Greg, let me know, because like thanks to Frank, he wrote labels on my small little drawers, and now I have organized parts. So there is chips that I can salvage and send. It just depends what he needs. So there's tons of crap here now that I just need to purge and get rid of. Cole, I've noticed you're very quiet on the whole action cam sort of side of things. Do you not want to talk about that, or do you?
Did you want to talk about ISO settings?
Yeah.
Are we going to learn something?
I don't know.
Can
you milk Andy? Am I just causing trouble?
I'm a mute. I can't speak.
I emailed Greg and never got a reply. Greg's been on holiday. He just got back. So
fixing a pool is not a holiday.
Oh, is that what it was? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I went on Menace
I'm going
RC
to
and it
message him
said...
on Facebook now, being like, why are you telling Andy you're having a holiday?
Oh, no, he didn't tell me. I went on because I needed for my HD0 video, I needed another patch antenna because I've only got one Pico patch somehow. So I ordered one, and I'm sure it said we are currently on vacation. I'm paraphrasing. It may not have been that. We are currently away, maybe that.
I literally shouted at him for like not updating his stock on the website. I was like, you just can't order something. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, Matt Gregg at Wings and Wheels. Yeah, it is amazing. Greg,
he's been busy, man. He's like, hopefully RC Volt will come out soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
we're allowed to.
Wings and Wheels.
We're allowed to talk about that, are we? I wasn't sure.
Well, it's
everyone saw the banner at Wings and Wheels, didn't we?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, people were.
What's this? I've missed this. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not saying it.
Greg was manning a stall under the label of RC Volt at Wings and Wheels. Yeah, and he had all sorts of kit in there, various lipos and power connectors and consumables, but
Is it
lipos, props, all
co.uk
that
or
stuff.
com?
I don't know if it's online. He was just doing it in
So
person. I
RC
wouldn't
Volt
know
is
about
going to
the
be
website.
a battery company?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it is, so I'm not gonna unless any.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know what it is, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
he was giving out those solder practice boards to people. Yeah, he's giving out.
Oh
those
yeah, I
PCBs.
got one of those. They're proper cool. The website works. Oh yeah, okay.
Let's see what's actually on it. I haven't even.
What website?
I think
Is
we'll
it
leave
the co.uk one?
Let's leave Greg to say what it's going to be. Yeah.
Maybe we should have Greg on and explain it then at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I am messaging
That is
Greg
a good
right
idea.
now.
That would be handy. I don't know what it
If
is.
you message him and ask if Andy can tell everybody what it is.
Well, I tried the password RC Vault, and apparently they've got better security than Walksnail, so there we are.
Yeah. Their password's now my name. Oh, no, I mean similar to my name.
You're working as some kind of shadowy Walksnail influencer these days, aren't you, Andy? Just lurking there, pushing people's buttons.
What happened between
I joke
DJI
here,
and
to be
Cadex?
clear. I'm absolutely joking about this.
No, I been
Who
working.
upset Daddy?
Hey, nobody no. I've been working with the system for a while, and there's just not enough information there for me to put a video out, and so I was had a word with Cadex and just sort of said, look, like there needs to be some transparency here, because it's never going to succeed if nobody knows the backstory. And it took ages, but eventually they came out with what they told me, and so that's all it was. I've got a good relationship with Cadex. They've always been good with sending me products and stuff like that. Although I will say they've got dusty cameras.
Well, I am proud of you for waiting until you had the facts, because it didn't stop so many other people just pointlessly speculating about it over and over and over again, and making me delete lots of channels off my feed.
Yeah, it's a funny one though, isn't it? Because people, it's like an exciting thing, but it's like the DJI O3s now, isn't it? It's like everyone, it's this, it's that, and it's like no, but and they get great views, and people, I think people enjoy the speculation, but it stresses me out a bit. I'm like, what actually, it's hilarious that I think that you could say that the only solid HD system you could buy right now that you could have 100% faith in is HD0, which I think no one would have said that, but I flew it. I flew it at the weekend. It's amazing. It's amazing in a different way, and it doesn't look as good as it flies when you're in the moment, and that's what I learned about HD0, and it's come a long way as well, so it's way better than it was before anyways. So yeah, I'm loving HD0, man. Yeah,
I mean,
HD0,
I'm following it all with interest, in the expectation that next year I'll be buying like an entire new set of. I'll probably go for a ELRS, because otherwise Stephen will murder me, and I'll also go for I do want some kind of digital video system, because analog is fun, but there's a lot of shinier things out there, and from what I can tell, HD0 is analog plus. Is that fair?
Nah.
If you're going to be racing, it makes sense.
It's way better than analog. I've I don't know if you saw the video, but I've flown analog around the trees and the fields where I fly, and I was flying at 200 milliwatt. Sorry, 25 milliwatt, and the equivalent analog would not perform as good as HD0. And
but that's in terms of like having a solid picture, right? Like having good signal. But is it in terms of like what you can actually see? Yeah.
Yes, as well. Yeah. So when you're out in the open and you're not flying behind a tree, in fact, you have to it's come so far when it comes to the range and how much you have to push it before you start getting that sparkly thing. If I just fly like a kilometer line of sight with nothing in the way, you don't get any of that breaker on 200 milliwatt now. And the 1 watt freestyle one, I've seen go very far without any sparkles, kilometers. Not myself, but that's how far it's come. Yeah.
So I've got all those systems as well. The DJI and HD0 and some pretty good analog kit, like with I've got rapid fire and stuff, and some decent analog cameras. The Cadex, I've forgotten what it's called now, but the Starlight one that everyone Ratel, yeah, which gives a pretty good picture. And I do find when I get into like dense foliage, the HD0 makes it hard for me to tell where individual leaves and branches are. But when I'm on analog, the cameras have really good sharpening and edge definition, so you could always tell where the edges are. With HD0, sometimes I feel like I'm looking at just a solid green mass, and I can't see where individual branches and leaves are.
I saw some stuff from Walksdale. I think it was Maztec was flying over some grass, and it looked like there were clouds because the grass had clumped together so much in compression that it just became mist. It was that bad. It was like the first 5 feet was clear, and then it was just this mist of green, which is just...
Yeah,
it's like there were a few details in his picture that were at like 720p, but the grass in front of him was at like 100p, and it was just a couple of giant pixels, and that was all.
Yeah. I think it probably looked worse than it. I probably think it looked worse than it did. I don't think you uploaded it in 4K. I could be incorrect, but when I saw it, it was in 1080p. But that I'm it's got a long way to go.
YouTube does it no favors. It's hard. Unless someone uploads reference footage somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm now uploading everything, even if it's analog or whatever, in 4K. It's a pain in the bum because it takes sometimes 2 days to process. But everybody's like, how's your HD0? How's your HD0 footage look so good? Mine looks terrible when I upload it to YouTube. You upload it in 4K and then you get that. Is it called the VP9 codec, I think?
Yeah. Any 720p footage just gets crushed by YouTube. It's terrible.
Even 1080. Even 1080 does, yeah. So now
I upload it
4K for me. 4K 60. It's a bugger. You end up with a 20 gig upload file, which takes a couple of hours. Yeah, but it's what everyone's doing. So.
You kind of like bypass the compression a bit because I think when you do the 4K uploads, you get a higher bit rate or something. I don't know if that's
so
right.
when you upload in 4K, so YouTube's got 2 codecs, I believe. There's the potato codec and then there's the VP9. So if you take a 1080p or even 720, so the HD0 is 720p, 1280 by 720, But if you upscale that to 4K, then you get like what very similar to the original file was. That the user has to watch it in 4K, and it translates quite good. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
If you feed it a bunch of data that's like got a lower amount of detail into a codec that's ready to accept a higher amount of detail, it means you're going to cut out less of that when you make the transcode. So if you take your 720p footage and you transcode it again into 720p, chances are you'll lose quite a bit of that definition. But if you upscale it and make every pixel like 4 pixels at 1440p and throw that into a 1440p encoder, the 1440p encoder is going to have more bandwidth generally than the 720p, and there's less chance of the original 720p detail being lost once it's made that shift as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Is this related to the H.264, H.265 stuff that you were mentioning a while back?
Not really. No,
is that a completely different conversation?
Yeah. So
it's just like I keep hearing H.264 and H.265 being mentioned as codecs, but then there's also like you were saying the VP9 stuff mentioned as a codec, and there seems to be. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know enough of the terminology.
There's a few out. There is a few out there, but H.264 is. You can look at graphs of how what's being used.
So H.264 and H.265 were proprietary codecs that were introduced by the Fraunhofer Institute, the MPEG consortium, and they were like the official way to do MPEG, but. Because that was a committee-based process, loads of people wanted to get ownership of that stuff, so they're patent encumbered, which means you build them into devices, you have to kick someone $1 or $2 when you use them. Because YouTube encodes videos at a massive scale, they didn't want to pay any of that. They wanted an open source codec, and they didn't want to get into a legal spat by re-implementing something in a clean room and then having someone take them to court. So they just went their own way with YouTube and created these VP9 codecs and gave them away for free, because it's better to make something themselves and give it away and lose money off the codec than pay money hand over fist every time they use someone else's codec.
Yeah. Codecs are all delivery methods, aren't they? They're not. It's not raw video. It's all compression, and
so coder decoder. Yeah.
The limitation of H.264 is that it can't encode higher than 4K 60. So that's when it has to go to H.265. So, for example, the new it's not new anymore. The GoPro 10, is it the 5.7K mode or is it 5.3? When you select that, well, first of all, the thing starts to burn up, but that's a separate problem. but it switches the codec to H.265, and I've got a beefy PC. But playing 5.7K or whatever it is, it's 5 point something. It stutters like crazy, and you'd have the same if you did 4K because it takes more processing to play it back, basically.
Is it? And it was your video, right, that explained about the difference between them being like H.264 has fixed sizes of boxes, like all of this fixed size of square. That's what it's looking at to work out. Okay, all of these are blue. But then, so we don't encode every single blue pixel. You just say all these pixels in this square are blue. But then the H.265, it can change the size of the square. So if like half your screen is all the same shade of blue, it only needs to encode that once compared to like the other one, which has however many of those bigger sort of squares of pixels.
Yeah. So H.264 is 16 by 16 blocks. They used to be called macro blocks, but I think they're called UTCs now, which I forget what the acronym means. But H.265 has 64 by 64, and it can split them up in the way the terminology is partitioned in like 35 different ways compared to 9 different ways of H.264, which means that there's more. In fact, the information that's been leaked about the new DJI system, ironically, will be using H.265 as well. So, you could probably connect the dots from Walk Snail to the DJI O3 going down the H.265 route. It's just not ready yet, And
this is generational as well, right? Like we started with MPEG 2. These H.264 and H.265 are technically under this MPEG 4 family of codecs. Originally we had MPEG 2, and if you think back to DVDs, they were like 480p, 720 by 480, or 720 by 576 for PAL, and they were at 6 megabit with MPEG-2. And you think about that's actually fairly high for the really low resolution that those had. They were very simple. They didn't require much CPU to encode or decode. So generationally, as we move forward to newer GoPros, to newer laptops, all of a sudden you can take that same 6 megabit and you can afford to spend more CPU cycles on every 6 megabit chunk of that, which means that you can encode more complex information into it. So instead of a 480p stream, you can go up to maybe a 1080p with H.264 and keep it that 6 megabit, but then H.265 says we're going to throw even more CPU at it, we're going to analyze it much more, but it's going to be more strenuous to decode that information and to turn it into a raw image again. The result is now we can maybe do a 4K at 6 megabit as well. And so streaming services, like Netflix, use actually pretty low data rates to get some quite high picture quality.
Yeah, I actually signed up for the Netflix 4K package because it actually, at the time, wasn't much more than the standard one, and I paid for it, and I was like, right, why is nothing in 4K? And it's because I didn't have the HEVC codec installed, and that can't work through Chrome. Apparently it works through Microsoft Edge, but everything still nothing showed as 4K, and it was only Netflix's own Windows app that worked, and I had to pay the 99p on the Windows Store to get the HEVC, and I did buy it. You can get it illegitimately, but what's 99p? You have to pay for a
codec. Wow.
Yeah, it's all patent and cupboard rubbish, and it's tied into the DRM system as well, so they go hand in glove.
Is there something to do with hardware acceleration as well? Like a certain board's gonna, like, I don't know what part of the computer it is, or phone.
Yeah,
or
so like
device.
with your GoPro, it's not doing that video encode on its CPU. There's no way it'd be able to do that. It's all down to what the chip capabilities are, and this is where we talk about the kind of pigeon and sparrow system over in DJI and how those are probably going through generations, because that's just a mobile phone chipset essentially that they've sort of sliced and diced to make into a drone chipset. And the way that they're able to introduce the newer codecs is that those hardware capabilities are present in newer hardware, whereas they weren't in older hardware. It's an accelerated offload that lets them do the video encoding. It's not done on the CPU at all. As Curry knows, trying to do this on the CPU in OpenHD absolutely kills the system, and you need a specific board with either a very powerful CPU or preferably a hardware encoder to make it happen at a decent speed.
I wanted to ask Curry Kitten about something, because when I did my videos on HD0 and WarpsNow, somebody mentioned another project very similar to OpenHD, but it's not a fork of OpenHD.
Ruby.
No, and they're using these really tiny, tiny Arduino boards that are apparently impossible to get hold of, and it's working like really well. It's I bet someone in the comments.
Arduino's 8-bit microcontrollers, so how's that even handling video?
Are you talking about the hardware
Arduino's
project?
changed a lot in the past 10 years.
No. Let me.
Okay.
It's called. It's like.
I mean, a lot of stuff's Arduino compatible, but the Arduinos themselves were like Atmel chips, weren't they?
Yeah. That was kind of a lot of the early flight controllers were using the same boards, but Arduino now do like loads and loads of boards, and they're aiming them more at kind of industrial applications, of industrial Internet of Things type stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they did have some higher level things. They're kind of aiming at the Raspberry Pi sort of market as well.
I know there were some Rockchip chipsets that were floating around, like the RK33 something, that was basically a webcam chipset someone was trying to repurpose to do something like this.
I'll stick it in.
Should I stick that, Curry?
Should I stick it in our our
Are
chat.
we talking about the hardware project, which was using like the rocket chip, some sort of board?
Yeah.
And they reckon they could encode H.265 on that one. Their problem was getting the Raspberry Pi 4 to decode it on the other end fast enough to be useful. They've, I think, when I last checked in with them, they were running into chip shortages as well and unable to progress that much.
I don't know if you can check this YouTube video out. It's called Introducing WFB-NG is OpenHD
wireless frame buffer. Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi. It's the next Wi-Fi broadcast. Next generation.
This
Wi-Fi
is the same
broadcast
hardware,
is what OpenHD came from. Wi-Fi broadcast was the original project, and there were a bunch of forks from that, and OpenHD was among them. And it was 4 or 5 years ago, or even longer. I think they were doing this and doing HD broadcasts. And I noticed Mario posted this video. I haven't really watched it. As I remember, it didn't look that great.
It doesn't look that great, but it says, I'll read from the description, introducing the new Wi-Fi broadcast next generation. That's what it's called, WFB-NG. This is not a fork of any other project. It's created by Vasily, and then in brackets SVP.com, Vasily, sorry, and OpenHD forked it and used it.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. So basically, it's the father of OpenHD, and then there's a bunch of links to the hardware, and it looks very small. And the only I
thought he was running this on the same hardware. Let's talk about the hardware. He says he's using a Jetson Nano here still.
Yes.
So have I missed? Because the Jetson Nano is a big chunky beast like Curry Kitten's running.
Yeah, the Jetson Nano's a crazy thing to run on this. It's got all these GPUs that can run it.
It's this.
He's running an 8-inch on this. It's an iFlight XL8.
And NCB00 carrier board, and then he's linked.
Yeah, that's a Jetson Nano carrier board. So that's like a 100mm long board. It's a big fatty. It ain't small.
I saw something. And I don't think maybe it's
Someone
not
reached out to me on Discord asking me where they could buy this. I don't know why they thought I'd know, but
he's released a new video 13 days
there's
ago.
There's also this mention of this NanoPi Neo 2, whatever that is.
Yes, I think that might have been what I was looking. I basically, somewhere he's got,
which looks a lot more reasonable.
Here we are.
It's like it's pretty
and
small.
What?
It's like a really small sort of VTX. It is actually like managed to make
£10.92 on AliExpress.
So check these dimensions, Andy. It's 87mm by 50mm and weighs 30 grams, and that's just a carrier board that you have to plug the CPU module into.
Oh right, okay.
It's a big chunker.
Okay. So this is no good. It's funny because I was doing all these videos and somebody said, actually, it might have been this particular guy, I don't know. Actually, WFB-NG is the best HD solution out there.
That makes sense.
And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Well, it seems like OpenHD have been really working to try and make the solution easier to use, to work on the OSD, to work on a lot of the other stuff that makes the whole system work. But what they haven't done really is revisit the core video transmission stuff. And I went and read on this, and Easy Wi-Fi Broadcast was a system that is the kernel of OpenHD, which allows you to take a regular Wi-Fi card, and instead of running like a TCP/IP network, it just lets you fire raw data out of the Wi-Fi card so anyone can listen to it. And that makes everything tick. What they've done with Wi-Fi Broadcast Next Generation is to make it so that when you fire data out of the video card, the size of each chunk of data aligns perfectly with the amount of data needed to send a chunk of video. Because previously those two sizes didn't match. So you'd send like one chunk from Easy Wi-Fi broadcast and get not an entire frame of video, and then you'd have to wait for the next chunk from Easy Wi-Fi broadcast, and you finish that frame and get the start of the next frame, which was really bad for latency because you weren't able to decode the video instantly. So they've lined it up with, I think, the RTC or whatever they're using for the underlying video transmission sizes, so that they're one-to-one steps now.
So is this guy just trolling them? Because this video is 4 weeks ago and it says, introducing this system, is OpenHD in trouble, question mark.
OpenHD will probably just nab it and use it. I mean,
yeah, because I remember seeing it and I didn't really understand what the video was trying to say, because it's like, it's Mario who works on OpenHD amongst other things.
Oh, right.
Although he tries out a lot of other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And B, it's like, if they've got the next generation of it, grab it and put it in there. I mean, that said, OpenHD hasn't had a release for so long. They had a developer swap around, and that because it was like, oh yeah, version 2.1 will be out next week 2 years ago, and that still hasn't happened. So it's not. Is OpenHD in trouble? It's just languishing a little bit and needs to kind of sort itself out and get another release out there.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, I learned something today.
Can't we all? I am trying desperately to. I've been trying to work on getting 2 OpenHD setups going. I've got my. Where's my board? It's down here. This is my desk board now. This is the Oaken HD board, which is basically this little connector board, which sits on top of a Pi compute module, which is that bit. And this was in my wing, and I was having such problems getting this working. I think I originally got this round about Christmas time, and I've had to and fro with the developer about it. First off, we found a problem about the USB and currents used, and it would basically shut the Pi down. And then he was eventually able to replicate that and did some hardware modifications. And then I had the problem where I had my wing flying in analog, checking it out. iNav works, do an auto launch, that works perfectly. Okay, put a system in it, and I'm like, brilliant. I'm going to go to the field. I'm there, turned it on, got the goggles on, right, ready to go. Why have I got no satellites? And for some reason, the Wi-Fi adapter was absolutely knocking out my sats, and I spent weeks going to and from the Oaken developer, sending him in videos saying, here's my setup, this is what I'm doing, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And he's like, nothing, it's absolutely right. He's like, must be a problem with the board, send it back to me. Board went back to Italy, he plugged it into his system. He even went out and bought Express LRS so he could try and replicate it. He plugged it in and it worked perfectly. And I was like, what now? I was like, you saw my video yet? And he's like, yeah, I don't get it either. It's the same, but it doesn't work. So it's come back again. And now I was like, right, I'm taking it all out of the wing. I've replicated the entire system on the desk just so I can sit down and figure out where the problem is. Something must be being introduced when it's on my wing to knock out the sats, basically. Because what I have to do with this, I've got a very short HDMI cable to the Pi and my very stupid looking big stupid goggles. So what I need to do is auto launch it, put it in return to home, like visually, walk back to the goggles, put them on. If I haven't got satellites to do that, the plane, A, it's not going to arm, and even if it did arm, it'd just fly off somewhere and we don't know what would happen. So, and for some reason, that has been going and going for 6 months. I was pretty disappointed about it because I really wanted to get moving and do a bit more in it and see what can be done, because people that aren't me, people like Mario, have some amazing results, and like, you know, people are flying 30-40k on this system with just a couple of Wi-Fi adapters quite happily.
That's what that video one of his many videos is showing. But I
get some good results.
I just thought I'd ask you about it because I had no idea what it was, and but now I do. So thank you. Caroline Tyler, she has gone and bought Uncrashed on your recommendation, Stephen. So will that run on my potato system?
I had it running on an i5 like 8th gen or something, quite a few years old, and I just lowered it to 720p, and then there's a resolution scale option, so you can actually set the screen resolution and then get it to render at a lower resolution, and that makes it run much faster.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't tried it actually. I haven't. I'll need to get it. Is it expensive?
Just 10 quid. 10.99.
That's not too bad.
FX Node.
So.
FX Node are so using an F4 board on the wing curry.
Yeah, it's a Maytech F405 board.
Have you turned off soft serial?
Is that bad?
I don't know.
Break stuff?
Yeah, because it clashes with one of the UARTs.
Well, all my UARTs definitely work. I've checked I can get everything coming in and stuff.
What, and
I literally had this running, and then I was like, plug in the Wi-Fi adapter, and you see satellites 13, and it starts like a time bomb starts ticking down. It's really weird though.
RG or iNav?
It doesn't knock it out. It's on iNav. It doesn't knock it out completely. It's like a creeping death thing. So it like knocks down to 8. It goes 7, 6, 5, and then goes back up to 6, 7. And then suddenly it hits 0 for a second, then it bounces back up to 5. All these things that will basically make you crash. You can't. I'm not going to launch something where the satellite occasionally drops to 0, but I don't know why.
You don't want it to fail the sanity check.
A worse thing to do. Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
Return to home working.
What's interesting is all of these HD systems don't play well with GPS, do they? The Walk-Snell system doesn't. DJI definitely doesn't. You can solve it by wrapping the cable in like copper wiring, and that sort of sorts out the problem. Have you tried anything like?
Did that already? Because I had that on an analog thing where it was this one actually. It was a Rush FPV flight controller. I had to replace one, and as soon as I did that, GPS went to 0. And by wrapping the wire in copper and then soldering that copper to ground, fixed it completely. So I did try that on the wing, and it didn't do anything. Something odd is happening, which we can't work out. But that's my month's task, is to try and fix that.
Well, could you just stick analog in it and see if you have the same problem? And then
I don't. Yeah, analog works perfectly fine. But
then
again,
okay.
I don't have a great big Wi-Fi adapter sitting on the wing going boom. Here's some Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All right. Should we call it there, guys? Because that is all we've got time for.
Oh.
All right then.
I was going to say I've been wrapping GPS in foil as well, just to get them on the party. That was all.
Thank you. You've been listening to Let's Drone Now. The show is lovely and sponsored by the wonderful Patreons, and that keeps us impartial. It stops Frank from strangling us, and pays the editor to get rid of all the rude words and stuff that legally Andy shouldn't be saying live on air.
I said forked.
Okay, we'll work on that.
That can stay in.
Yep. Okay.
When are we telling people on the main podcast feed about the our meetup? I can't remember when we said we were going to do that.
We said last week.
Ah, there we go then. If it's public knowledge.
Why don't you say it again? You had an announcement on the tip of your tongue there, didn't you? Go for it.
For our 7 years of LDO in a couple of weeks' time, on the 18th of August, we are quite a few of us going to be meeting.
17th.
17th is a Wednesday. This would be unusual for the past 7 years of doing it on a Thursday. But yeah, we're going to be, unless you've booked it for the wrong day, which would be slightly awkward. We should probably check this. We may or may not be meeting up in a pub. We'll find out.
We'll be flying near the sea as well, maybe, if you turn up early, if you're early enough.
There's so many photos of cats. So many photos of cats.
Oh my god.
That is why they built the internet.
Nope, you're right. You've written 18th a lot. Ignore me. I've read that. It's booked for the 18th.
Good.
Think so. What did the let's check the LDO email.
All
right. Good job, everyone. See you on the 18th. Remember to wrap your GPS in foil and have a good night. Thank you, Patreons.
Yep.
Always wrap up.
You didn't write the email. No one let Jack write an actual email, did they?
He went to the pub
Oh,
with a card.
My word.
Yep. Yep. You've been joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Goodbye.
My buddy Cole.
See ya.
The lovely moustached Stephen.
I'll get you, Sonic.
He knows it.
I like that one.
And my favourite liability and hashtag me too. My dream is to super glue your hand to my crotch. Andy RC.
I'll see you in 2 weeks then, Jack.
Yeah.
Bring acetone.
Yeah, bring D-Bondi, yeah.
Wonder. Yep.
Ta-ta, everybody.
Our Lord and Master, Andrew Frank.
Bye.
And I've been Bright Till I Fly. Thank you. Good night. LDO out.